Endorsements, radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Epic Love Show, episode number 98, featuring guest Melanie Cabot this evening, entrepreneur and founder of the Happiness Club of Palm Beach, and so much more. She'll be joining us here in just a couple minutes. This show is about sharing inspiring stories of love through action and promoting the positive, and I'm your host, Travis Suit. So I believe one of the most important and valuable gifts that you can give yourself is love. That's why we do this show. And I'm here to share those stories of how we persevere through adversity to bring that gift of love to the world, to bring your energy, to bring epic love. And epic love looks like very different things out there in the world. That could look like something as simple as the self-love and care you give yourself when you sit down to just have some quiet time and read and meditate. It could look like a big event that you put on to fundraise, to help your favorite mission and cause. It is your story. It's your hero's journey. That's what the Epic is all about. And so thank you for joining us. These stories allow us to bring our gifts out and to hear them and to share them. And your journey to become more inspired is part of our journey here tonight. And that action and that step starts right now. The Epic Love Show is brought to you by the Piper's Angels Foundation for Cystic Fibrosis. You can learn more at pipersangels.org. We are live each week on Facebook and YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and always available for playback on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. So please share the show. I want to thank all our listeners every week for tuning in. Every week, the show's audience grows, our views grow, and this is about, as Peter Marcus, the amazing business coach who just commented, says, bring forth your personal greatness as an expression of who you've become. Boy, Peter, you couldn't have dropped that comment at a better time, and thank you for tuning in. Peter's been a great influence in my life. You can go to marcuscoaching.com if you want to learn more about Peter and his amazing coaching out there in the world. And so, yes, so thank you to all the loyal listeners. And what I would say are our epic lovers out there in the world. Look, it's not easy to be positive all the time. We go up and down. It's a roller coaster. And we've all been through a lot of hardships. This show was born out of the diagnosis of my daughter with cystic fibrosis and, really having to work hard for many years to transform that pain into a gift. It's something that would empower myself to give Piper a great example and to empower others. And I think that there's a quote that I came up with recently. It was like an insight that came up for me this past week and that I wanted to share that I think relates to this episode and Melanie being coming on in the Happiness Club, which is when you're afraid to experience your pain becomes the experience. And so just let that resonate. And whatever pain that you have going on out there in the world right now, I know there's a lot of people hurting because of the pandemic and COVID, loss of income, health issues. There's a lot going on. And what I have to say is that the people in the cystic fibrosis community that our organization supports, these are issues they've faced their whole life. Loss of income, long-term hospitalization, a loss of children, right? Having to, pay for funeral expenses. lung transplants, issues like that can cause these heavy burdens in our life. And what I've learned from cystic fibrosis and what I've learned from the CF community is to never give up on hope and to always find the positive, always find the light in every step along the way, even when it's toughest, because that's when you're being tested the most. And those challenges are ultimately what help you become the greatest version of you. So thank you for tuning in. And always joining me in studio here is the one and only epic jokester, Mr. Jason. Thank you for being here, sir.
I'm sitting on my epic joke throne today. I'm like so excited. I got my throne.
We did. Piper and I, actually, Piper's here as well. We built Jason his new throne, his chair here in studio, and it looks like you're very comfortable.
I am. This is a lot more comfortable. I'm very excited. And before I get my jokes, I have a shout out. I have to wish the epic jokester's mom a happy birthday today.
What's her name?
Her name's Holly.
Happy birthday, Holly, from everybody in the Epic Love family.
And without her, I wouldn't be here, so I appreciate it.
Great point.
Thanks.
That is a good point. And a fact.
It is a fact, too.
That's a hard line fact.
It is a fact.
Well, we're sending our love out to your mom.
Thank you. So, all right. So I got to tell you, I had a dream last night.
Oh,
yeah.
Tell me about it.
I was swimming in an ocean of orange soda. It was a fantasy.
That's a good
I'm
one.
Watching Melanie.
That's a good one.
All right.
It's ocean related too.
But
That was
I know.
good. Nice one.
You can't hear her, but she's laughing.
I love that
I'm excited. And but I gotta tell you, I love all sorts of jokes. All right, but poop jokes, they're not my favorite, but they're a solid number 2.
Oh man, bringing it tonight.
Listen, I brought it.
Those are 2 good ones. You did bring it.
I had to.
Thank you for bringing the humor.
Absolutely.
Always nice to lighten it up. Always nice to start off with a big smile, and Jason brings that every week. So thank you, sir.
It was absolutely my pleasure.
So let me introduce this week's guest, which I am so excited about. She is a dear friend of mine, and she's an incredibly beautiful soul and human being, and her light and her smile just shines so bright. Her name is Melanie Cabot, and she's a resident of Palm Beach. Melanie is the founder of an educational nonprofit, the Foundation for Women's Economic Literacy, which provides financial education for women in search of quality information and resources. She's also founded the Happiness Club of Palm Beach, which invites speakers on health and wellness to educate the community. Melanie has traveled to over 40 countries and lived abroad, and she is the vice president of the Palm Beach chapter of the Circumnavigators Club. In addition to her businesses as an entrepreneur, Melanie is a sought-after business coach, community leader, philanthropist, and board member in leadership for several nonprofit organizations, as well as being on the advisory board of Piper's Angels Foundation. So thank you very much, Melanie, for joining us on the Epic Love Show.
Oh, Travis, I'm so happy to be here. And I have to say, being involved with Piper's Angels and getting to know you has been just such a highlight and just such a blessing in my life, because you're just such an awesome organization. And give my best to little Piper. Miss her.
I will. She'll be back here in a minute. So I gave her my check card, and she walked down the street to the ice cream shop to get some ice cream. So she
wait.
So she's happy.
Sent her ice cream and didn't ask us if we wanted anything. This went from epic jokesters to epic sadness.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Melanie. And, as you know, being an entrepreneur and building a business from scratch is not easy. And so there's a lot of lessons we learn along the way, and I'm really excited for you to share a lot of the wisdom that you have here tonight with us.
Thank you.
So, yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're in this quarantine time, and we are, at a time that I've never seen in my lifetime like this before. And people are concerned, and there's a lot of fear out there. And you're the founder of the Happiness Club. So how do we look at the circumstances in the world, and how do we, do our best to maintain happiness? How can we bring ourselves to that place?
Well, it is a tough time. And we do have to remember that we're first of all, we're all in this together. So it's not as if we're struggling on our own. And one of the things that's important is that healing comes through community. So my greatest satisfaction with the Happiness Club is that we've created a community of really caring souls, creative people, connectors, and just awesome speakers. And you've been a great speaker many times, and thank you for that. But one of the things that I'm pleased about is that the speakers that we've brought to the Happiness Club, they've all had gifts to share and given us resources for resilience. Now, we didn't know we'd be needing them during these times, but
right.
So now we're calling upon all that.
So what do resources for resilience look like? I love what you said there about healing comes through community. I couldn't agree more. When we created the crossing for cystic fibrosis and the community came around and really rallied behind what we were doing, that's really where I found my healing. I'd never experienced such an outpouring of love from the community. And I would say that's definitely a version of epic love. So, when you say resources for resilience, what does that look like?
Well, I have to say it's been a learning process for me too, because when I started the Happiness Club, I didn't know about transcendental meditation or yoga or breathing, or eating more of a plant-based diet, all these wonderful things that I've been introduced to through our speakers. So it's first of all, reaching out to people, not being afraid of asking for help. Back to my earlier point about we're all in this together. And what you've seen firsthand is through Piper's Angels is you've built a community. And what is a community? It's people that care about each other, people that love each other. And I love your term, love through action. So I would encourage people to really, to not, yes, fear will creep in, but push it aside and ask for help. You're not alone. One of the things that I wanted to share a story about one of the speakers, one of the first speakers that came to the Happiness Club. She put a pitcher of water on the table, and she took out a little vial of blue ink, and she put 3 drops of water in this pitcher and then swirled it around. And the point that she made is that nothing is insignificant. These 3 little dots of ink colored the pitcher water. So we're all in this together, and no one's too small to make a difference. And let's help each other through these difficult times.
Yeah, that's a great story. And I love the imagery and the simplicity of that. I would love to do that with kids in a kids class.
Yeah.
I would love to share that. I'm going to do it with Piper later for sure. Thank you for sharing that. And I agree, reaching out and asking for help is sometimes really hard. Really hard because no matter what perspective you're coming from, if you don't share your experience, it's impossible for people to know what you're going through and to really have compassion and be able to extend a helping hand.
Right. And I've seen that play out in the Happiness Club. We've had speakers. One of our taglines is falling but not breaking. And our speakers have shared their vulnerabilities and shared their lowest points, because that's what they had to call on inner resources and the love of family and friends to pull them through. And we all have those stories. So don't be afraid. Don't be fearful of exposing your vulnerability, because it doesn't serve you. And so push the fear aside and reach out.
Yeah.
There are lots of great resources here too. I keep going back to resources. Once you start digging a little bit, you'll find there's a lot we can use.
Yeah. And what I found when attending the Happiness Club meetings is that, no matter where you are on your path and kind of on the roller coaster of life. I remember I came out to one of the Happiness Club meetings at a time when I was going through some really heavy emotional stuff. And I remember just being there and around everybody, and I could really feel the weight of everything. I could feel how how heavy I was with that emotion. But being around everybody was so uplifting, and hearing them share their stories of and being vulnerable and going through that, it just was such a good reminder of keeping my focus on something, that knowing that I was going to come out of the other side, like this wouldn't last forever. And that was so important. And I thank you for really providing such a divine venue for hosting these beautiful and incredible stories and people. So for everybody out there listening, especially here in Palm Beach County, if you're local, what does the Happiness Club look like? What's the format of it?
It's a very simple format. We meet in public spaces. Well, we used to. We'll find a new normal. But we meet in restaurants the first Monday of every month during happy hour, and we invite speakers to come and share their story. Because as you said, stories are important. It's part of the hero's journey. We learn from other people's experiences, and we are storytellers by nature. So speakers come and tell their story, and as you experienced when you came, you were down period in your life, but you felt genuine love. I mean, you were welcomed and loved and cared for, and that good vibe just sort of permeates the whole room and the whole experience. Now, right now, we've had to switch to video, but I'm hopeful that in the future we'll get back to our person meetings, because there's nothing more satisfying and rewarding than being able to see people in person and sharing their warmth and their caring for each other. And I've seen great friendships come from this. And it goes back to speakers willing to share their difficult times, their challenges, their vulnerabilities. And I even hate to use this word, but there's no judgment. It doesn't even come to it. It's just sharing love and goodwill for everybody.
Yeah. So, but I'm with you.
All your audience. Well, you'll be back because you've been a speaker several times. So radio audience, you're invited to come hear Travis speak when we're back in person.
I would love to. And I agree. I am missing our community so much. I'm just missing hugging people. I just want to hug people. I really just want to give somebody a hug, just like it feels so good to give everybody a hug and share in that space and that energy. And I think this is really teaching us how to work through so much. Hey, Piper, you're gonna have to turn the volume off. And it's an interesting dynamic to have. It's almost like what it reminds me of is when a hurricane is on its way to Florida. Everybody sort of goes into this like collective consciousness mode where they know, okay, we all got to get through this. And, people get crazy out there running around doing all their stuff. But what I've always enjoyed about that circumstance is that you really get to see people all kind of come together on the same wavelength. Like they know we're all in this together, like you said. And I think this seems like the most profound coming together on a global scale that I've ever seen.
Right. Because there's no discriminating here. I mean, we're all in it together. And we get the warning signs, danger, danger, it's on its way. And in fact, I was thinking about an analogy for this time, and I'll use hurricanes. In spring, we get ready for the hurricanes here in Florida. And I've seen gardeners go down and just chop everything down, right down to the stub. And it's for many reasons, because you don't want to have coconuts flying around in epic winds. But if you notice, at the end of the summer, everything comes back lush and full and overwhelming. So right now it's a time of pruning. It's a time of getting ready for the hurricane, although we're in the hurricane now and we might feel like we're losing things. But don't look at it that way. Reframe this as a period of hibernation, which it is, but also reevaluating and nurturing yourself. I think that's key, is nurturing yourself, getting your resources, and also dreaming. I mean, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Now is a great time to take a step back and say, okay, my job might not be the same as it was before. My relationships might change. What do I really value and what do I want going forward? So try to see this as a time for unexpected blessings. Be hard, but we can do it.
Yeah, and I think that is such a great theme and overarching way to look at this, is unexpected blessings, because there have been so many, and you know, there's definitely the upside and the downside, the yin and the yang. So from your experience with the Happiness Club, and you talked about some of these tools the speakers bring in as ways to be mindful, or, you know, different things like that. Have there been any specific things that you've adopted over the years into your own personal kind of rituals of success or regimen that have really worked for you?
Well, you know, building habits take time.
That's true. Yeah.
But yes, in fact, every January, I invite the Palm Beach chapter of Transcendental Meditation to come and speak to us, because I figure that's a good time when we're thinking about new habits for the year. So yes, I studied up and learned about transcendental meditation, and I think that, you know, you do your mantra for about 20 minutes. I can get through 12. I'm working up to you know, more time, but it's a start. And then another thing which I wasn't aware of was journaling. And when you think about it, you know, maybe when we were young we had diaries, or maybe we didn't, but journaling is important. And if you read the biographies of super successful men, Ray Dalio does DM, transcendental meditation and journaling. I think Jeff Bezos does journaling. So these are sort of hippy dippy practices. There's science and track records behind incorporating these habits into your life. So I'm, you know, it's recommended that you journal every day, and you just let your stream of consciousness and see what pops up. I'm not good at that. I do that once a week. I do that on Sundays. So as I said, I'm adopting these practices. And then we had a speaker come talk about the importance of food. Now we know that is what fuel are you putting in your body, and it has to be high quality. And there's a big move towards vegan right now, but that's difficult for people that are carnivores, and like myself.
Right.
But there's a way that you can adopt it. We had somebody come speak who is a vegan chef in Palm Beach, and he introduced me and the Happiness Club to a concept of the 80-20 rule, where you try to eat 80% plant-based, but hang on to that 20% that is the ice cream that Piper just ran out to get, and, you know, your wine at dinner. And if you love fish, and if you love a steak one every now and then, but cut back. Right. So those are the good habits that I'm blessed that I've learned from our past Happiness Club speakers, and slowly incorporating that in my life. And I think this is the time to focus on ourselves and try to bring in those good habits that'll serve us for when we're ready to get back out into the world and flourish and regenerate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because the journaling has been really supportive and served me really well over the last few months during this pandemic period. We got a comment from Danny. She says, vulnerability is such a beautiful act of just being. So many of us are being given the opportunity for this kind of being right now. I would agree. And and Peter, who chimed in earlier, he always talks about your way of being, people have a way of being. This is my way of being. And one of your guests at the Happiness Club, Dee Dee Lyons.
Yes.
So she gave me a feel-good journal, and I actually have it right here. I'm so glad you brought it up.
Great.
Look at that, right?
Yes.
It's the feel-good journal, connecting with your inner child, and it says, listen to your heart and the words will follow on the back. Then it's got a little picture of Dee Dee. So what's awesome, and why I'm so glad you brought that up, is Dee Dee is going to be our guest on the show. Not next week. I'm out of town with family on vacation, but the following week we have a gentleman named Gus Castellanos, Castellanos. And then the following week is Dee Dee.
Yay!
It's actually going to be our 100th episode.
Wow. And she'll talk a little bit about the magic of numbers. But yes, it was Dee Dee that introduced the Happiness Club to journaling. So I'm glad that she'll be able to share that with your audience. But another thing that she says too is during these days of fear is in your journaling, take a piece of paper and then write down everything that you're fearful of, and honor it, read it, honor it, and then shred it and say, okay, universe, these are my worries and my fears. I'm giving it to you. You take care of it and deal with it, because I have no idea how to handle this, but I trust and let go. So she'll be a great speaker.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I love that exercise, that fear exercise, because we like to say with our kind of a tagline or mantra with the crossing, be bold in the face of fear. And what a great simple way to be bold with fear is just to actually sit down and write out what you're really, really, what is circulating in your life, in your head, and your mind is fear, and getting it out. And I would shred it, and I'd probably burn it, because I like being around the fire.
Yes.
That would be.
You might have to sprinkle some sage around it, but just that simple act of writing it down, and it loses its power over you. Because you look at it on paper, you think, okay, this is what I was worried about. But again, honor it, because the fear comes from someplace. So honor it, put it down, burn it on the beach.
Yeah. So, Melanie, you've had a really interesting life, and I think you're a really remarkable woman and human being. I would love if you share just for a few minutes as well. I know we're focusing on the Happiness Club, but also I'd love for you to share with the audience what you do and what you've created with the Foundation for Women's Economic Literacy, because although it's, happiness is a much more bubbly, sticky topic, it seems, that is such a backbone. And, when people are stable financially and economically, it can reduce a lot of that stress and anxiety. So if you don't mind, I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Well, so much of my professional entrepreneurial path has been seeing a need and then trying to find a solution for it. So when I moved here to Palm Beach, I noticed that there's obviously this is a community of great wealth, but there's a huge knowledge gap. Whether we've made it, inherited it, married it, however it came to us, there's a lot of mismanagement. And money used to be simple. You had a paycheck and a savings account, and you paid your bills, and the rest you kept in the bank. But now it's so complicated now, and one wrong step can really wipe you out. So when I was down here, I thought, okay, there's an opportunity here for us to close that knowledge gap, because we have we need the information. So women, my generation, who really didn't have financial education, doesn't mean we didn't have education. I have a BA in psychology, but our family never talked about money.
Right.
So we have great resources here. Bankers, wealth managers, accountants, lawyers, And I would invite them. It's the same model as the Happiness Club. Invite speakers to come in and speak to our membership on different topics. Because, and it's not a lecture. It's all of our meetings are conversations, so that we can ask questions and we can learn from each other. And that's been so empowering, because women can say, you know what, I used to be really fearful about money, but now I'm asking questions. And women can ask questions of each other and say, well, how do you handle this situation? And that's been very empowering, and it's been so rewarding to see that. And the reason I wanted this to be a nonprofit is because the focus is on education.
Right.
And it's not anything beyond that, but just learning and supporting each other and helping out. And we'll be putting together resources on how to handle debt, because I know that that's another consequence of this COVID-19. Right. So stay tuned for that. We'll be sharing that with you soon, because that's a cause of a lot of anxiety and fear for people, but it doesn't have to be. Right. So look to us to give you some kind advice. Another thing too is, I have to say in life, is be gentle with yourself. Be kind to yourself. If you've made a mistake or things you feel they're beyond your control, don't beat yourself up. You know, show some compassion to yourself first. So don't be critical.
Yeah, it's
not serving, not helping right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's so easy to just judge so harshly and judge and be the biggest, critic of our own, for sure. Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful mission that you've created with the foundation. And so where can people, if they want to reach out to you, and as things clear up with the pandemic and everything, where can they reach out to you about learning more about the Foundation for Women's Economic Literacy?
It's FWEL.org. Stands for Foundation for Women Economic Literacy.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So I've got some fun questions for you. I'm a big book reader. I like to read a lot, and I always like to ask people, who I think of as community leaders, and you've created some really empowering organizations. What over the years have been some books that really have inspired you and really, you carry as a resource?
Okay. Well, top of my list would have to be my pink leather, dog-eared, highlighted New King James Bible. And
it's a pretty popular book.
I was raised in a Catholic family, small C. We went to church on the holidays, but I'd never read the Bible until I was here in Florida, and I had time, and I finally read. I sort of working my way through it, but that's really been an anchor in life's storms. I've never read it chronologically straight through. I've sort of picked out the sections that speak to me or that I need to know at the time. And the Old Testament has full of great historical stories, but also great lessons. So that's the top of the list. But I also love history and biographies. And my particular interest is so many wonderful people have built this country. So read the titans of industry, how America came to be. Start with the Civil War. But my passion are interesting women. So when I was in high school, I took some flying lessons. So I've always been fascinated by Amelia Earhart and how awesome she was. She was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic solo in 1928. I mean, today we have GPS and radar and all those, sophisticated maps. She had none of that. So I'm in awe of her. So that's a great book. And then Cleopatra, ruler of Egypt. I mean, she put those Egyptians and the Romans in her place. She started with Julius Caesar. So we can learn a few things. And she looked glorious doing it. So
right. Absolutely.
But then also, in thinking about this time, I want to recommend, I have to put the book up. I don't know if you can see, but Big Magic from Elizabeth Gilbert. And the subtitle is creative living beyond fear. And I thought she's perfect for right now, because she starts out by saying, live your dream. And if an inspiration comes to you, it was meant to come to you. So just do it. Just go out and do it. This is the time to figure out what really would make you, what's your passion? Live your purpose and your passion. And another reason I like her is because she writes about, she was the one that wrote Eat, Pray, Love.
Okay. Yeah.
That is her spiritual journey. Of course, and she really her second chapter was completely redefined. Because I had my own spiritual journey last year. I was blessed to go visit Cambodia, Thailand, and India. And if you want to see people that are grateful and live every day thankful, and that have nowhere near the creature comforts that we have, it's go to this part of the world. And they're all just enlightened beings, just happy and cheerful, and not without their suffering. Clearly they have a lot of suffering, but it's an inspiration to see that they focus on the positive. And wow, if you ever have the opportunity to go, just go.
How long were you over there for?
It was a 6 weeks vacation. It was left in November because Palm Beach is seasonal. Right. So I thought, okay, I could leave the Happiness Club and the Women's Foundation in December because it's Christmas time, New Year's. People won't miss me. Right. So we went for 6 weeks because you're going a hell of a long ways. This isn't a weekend trip. So you really want to see as much as you can because it's once in a lifetime journey for me. I don't expect to go back to India, but I recommend it. In fact, travel has been an important part of my education, which is why I was attracted to the Circumnavigators Club, because that was a value instilled in my brothers and my family at a young age. My mother would think nothing of taking us out of school and traveling around the world because she said we got more of an education seeing other peoples, cultures, architecture, food, just the whole experience of being in another world, another culture, another country was so enriching. So that's another life lesson I would pass on to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the Circumnavigators Club, what is the mission or the goal of that club? How do they rally, or what is the kind of the structure or the programming?
It was founded 100 years ago by several gentlemen in New York City who were sitting in the bar, I guess, and commenting on how fortunate they were to have been around the world, because a circumnavigator is someone who's circled the globe in one direction, and not at the same time, but in the same direction. And they said, this is a special group of people. Why don't we start a Circumnavigators Club? And they did, and it's grown. I think it has over 900 members worldwide, chapters all over the globe. And I've met the most amazing people. We have astronauts, captain of a submarine, balloonists, people who have sailed around the world. It's just an awesome group of adventure seekers, and anybody can join. You just have to travel around the world.
Yeah. Well, that would be one to add to the bucket list. I like that. I'm going to add that you've added something to my new bucket list goal, is to be able to join the Circumnavigators Club. So out of all the places that you've traveled and when you went to Cambodia and India and Thailand, were there any really special moments that you remember that you'd like to share?
Yes. I've never seen Raiders of Laura Croft. I know I'm butchering the name of her movie, but there's Tomb Raider, yeah. And our guide in Siem Reap in Cambodia told us that some of the filming had been done there, and it's absolutely majestic. You see these ancient structures, temples that have been built out of stone, but they were abandoned, and then nature has just taken over, and the roots are these trees are growing out of the stone rubble and the temples, and it's eerie and magical at the same time. And watch, there's a section in Tomb Raider, so you see that. But and then of course India was really mesmerizing. We woke up early to see the Taj Mahal, and to be at this wonderful token of love, because the Maharaja built it for his wife, this white marble palace, and to be there at dawn and see the sun rising and the mist lifting, the morning mist lifting behind this glorious white marble palace was just breathtaking. So there were many wonderful moments, but those are the two memorable ones.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those. You really took me there. Thank you. That was a great journey. And yeah, the Taj Mahal, that's one version of epic love for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So Peter dropped a comment. He said Melanie is working on her book. Are you working on writing a book yourself?
Yes, actually, it's a guide on life post pandemic, and what can we do now. So it's sort of tying in all these themes about letting go of the past and being bigger and better, getting through this. And a big part of it will include the finances, because there's no question that everybody's financial world is different. Yes. Not saying better or worse, but it'll be different. And I think we have, well, another thing too is that it's a collective effort, because I'm able to draw on the expertise of all our past speakers. So it's not just Melanie says this, it's all these amazing speakers, and it's aggregating their wise words to help the community get through bigger and better.
And how is the process of writing the book? Is it a challenge? Are you enjoying it?
Well, Peter just outed me, so I've got to really amp up the pace. It's a solitary thing, and there's almost no excuse, because these are solitary times. But it's slow, because it's just making sure that I'm writing. I want to make sure that I get it right. So.
Yeah, and that judgment, the critic, comes out sometimes.
Yes,
in the
exactly.
writing, for sure.
Yes.
So you talked, you shared some incredible stories, and I'm curious if there's anybody in particular that comes to mind. Like when we talk about epic love and inspiring stories of love through action, has there been anybody on a personal level or intimate level, or even somebody outside of your community or network or family that has inspired you, that you think is a great version of epic love?
Well, not to put you on the spot, but what you've built is epic. It is. I'm every time I get an email from Piper's Angels, I marvel at what you've done. You and your awesome team have rallied on so many levels. Whether it's community, it's education, it's food, it's family help, support, everything, and it's just awesome. So kudos to you and your amazing team. You definitely embody epic love.
Well, thank you for being a part of the family. Yeah,
my pleasure. But other than that, it comes down to the basics. Family and a few trusted friends. One of the things that I sort of find disheartening about social media is that everybody thinks they have 6,000 friends, but you really don't. If you have 3 or 4 friends that you can count on, regardless of the circumstances, that's a gift, and nurture those relationships. Because you know, that's quality over quantity.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it.
And another thing too is, we're getting older, and sometimes, your parents aren't with you anymore, or your spouses have passed away. I heard a great quote, and it's, friends are the family you choose. Because for the longest time, during Thanksgiving, I would invite people that were sort of at loose ends and didn't have places to go. And I said, you consider yourselves family, because that's what friends are, the family we've chosen. So that's it.
Yeah, you brought it home for me there for sure. Because we do have the choice to spend the time with the people that we love. And that's one thing definitely cystic fibrosis has taught me, is it is a quality over quantity game. And my dad loves to use a quote from Lonesome Dove, which is, life is shorter for some than others. And we don't know how much time we have. And we've lost a lot of friends over the years, and seen a lot of families lose loved ones, young people, 19, 20, 21, 25, 30 years old from cystic fibrosis. And I'm 36, and I think, gosh, I feel like I still have so much life to live, but at the same time, I can't imagine, losing a child at that age. And so thank you. And thank you for sharing that. I think that really was a nice way to drive the message home here. We've got a few minutes left on the show. Are there any final thank yous or shout outs you would like to make?
Well, to everybody, as you know, these efforts don't happen by themselves. So I want to thank all the awesome Happiness Club speakers and all the awesome Foundation for Women and Economic Literacy speakers, because they come and they give generously of their time and their talent and their treasures. And it's not me, it's them. We're community, and I'm grateful for all of them. And also, we're and they share generously. So big shout out and thanks to them.
Yeah. We had a guest on recently, Audrey Sutton, and she said, so I love that you said share generously. And she said she really helps. One thing she cultivates is to listen generously. Uh-huh. And I thought that was special. Well, thank you so much, Melanie, for being here from the deepest part of my heart. I love what you bring to the world, and thank you for sharing your inspiring stories and bringing your love in action.
Oh, my pleasure. Namaste. Thank you for what you do.
All right. Well, I look forward to the next Happiness Club meeting. Make sure everybody check out Happiness Club online, and hopefully we'll all be meeting in person soon. Yep. All right. Thank you, Melanie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, another amazing episode, another amazing human being on this show. That's what I love about Epic Love, is we get to rally and bring people from all over the world. If you have a guest you want to suggest, reach out. Send us a message on any one of the channels that we're out there on, and we'll find you. We'd love to share those inspiring stories and promote the positive. I'm Travis Suit, and you've been listening to the Epic Love Show. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. If you haven't yet, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Join us next week for another episode. Actually, next week we're taking a break. We're running a rerun on the radio portion, but we will be back the following week with episode 99, which will be Gus Castellanos, who is a world-renowned expert in mindfulness. And it's going to be an awesome show. I invite you to tune in. Thank you, as always, to our amazing audience, Suzanne, Joyce, Danny, Peter, Tatiana, Nikki, everybody who comments and is engaged. You know how much I love you. I'm sending you the love. So when you guys see that image on our YouTube background or on Facebook, and I'm going like this with that photo that David Scrolla took, I am blasting my love because it's so easy to give so much love when you receive so much love. And I really feel it. And I really appreciate the opportunity to channel it and to give it to the community and to give it to those who need it most and to bring it to the world. And we're going to keep rocking and rolling with Epic Love and bring this show, grow it bigger and bigger and bigger until Epic Love is in divine resonance with the whole world. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in for this week. I love you. I love you. I love you. And we'll see you next time on Epic Love.
Yeah. Spread the love all over the world. All God's people, spread the love all over the world.